Good morning and welcome to Beyond the SEAF model. This is effective for January 29th, 2024. Let's get started. Our signals for this week are technology, financials, and communication services. Interesting thing to note for this week is we got some consensus for our top two. Technology coming in first in the rankings for each time period, and financials coming in second in the ranking for each time period. Also seeing communication services come on strong with a positive favored ranking. Interesting really thing that we were seeing this week is we see a lot of positive inflows into the market. I think every single day except for one has a positive inflow into the spiders, as the one day being off was a breath away from being a positive day. So overall, seeing money flowing into the market. And another thing to note, and I will highlight this a little bit in my heat chart, is that we're starting to see some conviction in these bets. I've been mentioning the last couple of weeks that, outside of technology on the positive end, we really haven't seen any conviction bets in terms of money flowing into any of these particular sectors. That has now changed. Technology came in as the lead, as it has been, I believe, for the last 3 weeks. Financials coming in second. Last week, there was a 6-to-1 ratio from number 1 to number 2 on the trading week. This week, it's a 2-to-1 ratio, showing that financials is relatively strong. Communication services also being in about that 2-to-1 range, slightly under slightly under financials. Another key thing to note is energy. Energy coming into 3 for this week, also being relatively strong in terms of the inflow. This will show a little bit more up on the heat map. Obviously, we have a lot of historical negative pressure on energy. So energy is going to have to show some significant flows over the course of the next couple of weeks in order for it to move out of that avoid into neutral and then even potentially into the favored ranking. So there's really nothing to do on energy yet, but just interesting to note that this was a relatively strong flow at 3. Other thing, key thing to note is we started to see a little life in healthcare. That was kind of erased with a relatively strong negative outflow for this particular week. That is not to say that can't reverse, but just what we're seeing. And then last but not least, utilities. This is really going to highlight well in the rainbow chart, but utilities dropping all the way to the bottom, despite it not being a bottom 2 for any particular time period, just overall some negativeness, which does show up on the chart. Moving on to our heat map. So our heat map for this week, I've been talking about clumping in the heat map as being very important, as this thing is a kind of a looking for those momentum in the flows in order to show some relative outperformance versus SPY. You really want to start to see some clumping, and that's what we're seeing here. With the caveat of energy and healthcare and both tactical and weekly, everything else is relatively strong. We're also seeing these stronger flows. So you can see these deeper greens on that trading week. That is showing a little bit of more conviction. I like seeing this clumping where we're seeing this nice green up here, and we're kind of seeing this deep red over here, again, with the exception of energy. This is what we've been waiting for. This is what I've been talking about for the last couple of weeks, looking for that conviction in bets. We're starting to see that coalesce around the technology, financial, and communication services, with our dark horse being energy for the trading week. Moving into our rainbow charts, this is kind of highlighting communication services. I call this my little engine that could, due to the direct upward nature at a very ever slowly pace of relative outperformance, but we did see this spike up a little bit. That is consistent with the fact that it has gone from neutral up into this favored ranking, and we're seeing that in the relative outperformance. Going into technology, technology is making me adjust my chart edges a little bit more in order to catch on this giant relative outperformance. As we could see, though, this thing I really wanted to highlight here, as our rankings increase, we've been seeing this in the relative outperformance. As SEAF trends in the right direction, as it picks up the higher rankings, these rankings really are correlated with these relative outperformance spikes. So, we see technology go from neutral to favored, and look at what happened during that same time period. A very strong relative outperformance versus SPY. going into energy, again, nothing to do here with yet energy. We are still in a void ranking, and likely will be for some time due to the extent of the outflow that we were seeing into energy. But this little spike up into trying to head into this neutral ranking has gotten us a nice little bit of relative outperformance. We're not calling a bottom or anything on energy, but the amount of money that has been flowing out of energy, there has to be some energy stocks that are going to be underpriced versus what their balance sheets are showing. This is a space we want to continue to watch. If we can see that money continuing to flow into energy, we can get ourselves up into this neutral ranking. Theoretically, some managers can take a lead off here, but we're still saying hold firm. We're in a void, but we are seeing that relative outperformance turning up into the right direction. Last but not least, wanted to show off our utilities. Utilities is starting to break down. We were up in this favored ranking toward the end of the year and have now declined down into a void. This avoid decline from favored to avoid has corresponded to that relative outperformance, relative underperformance move against SPY, just showing both sides of the coin. We see technology. We see technology go from neutral to favored in a strong fashion, following those really strong flows that we've seen since the beginning of the year. That's showing the relative outperformance. On the flip side, watching strong flows out of utilities corresponding to that relative underperformance in SPY. That is all I have this week. I hope everybody has a wonderful week, and I look forward to speaking to you soon.